You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Well, we'd like to welcome back Dawn Becker Durnan, who's Vice President, People First, Property and Casualty Services. Is that the correct name, Dawn? You're always getting promoted and everything else, so it's kind of...
That is the correct name, and we are part of Insure. We are a private company, and we provide insurance products, mainly property and casualty. So not the benefits or the life insurance, but liability for third-party kind of losses, such as property damage or bodily injury. And the property coverage would be your buildings. It could also include auxiliary structures. So we're looking to protect primarily businesses.
Right. So if we recall last year, we have Dawn on for 2 things, because something happened that got by me over the summer with all the stuff we were dealing with. And it really was not covered, the actual details. So if we recall, on June 24th of last year, that's 2021, a 12-story beachfront condominium in the Miami suburb of Surfside, Florida. Yeah, I'm a professional broadcaster here. Surfside, Florida had collapsed, right? And it was called the Champlain Towers South. It was a horrific thing. Middle of the night, 1:22 a.m. And there was a settlement this past June, I believe it was, on for an undisclosed amount of money, but it was reported, from what I've heard, over $500 million, well in excess of $500 million. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard. And there are some details that I found them online after Dawn had mentioned it to me last week, but they're specifically with health and safety. And I was just like, this is why it's important to train your people. Number one, we always know that, and we do the training here, obviously. And number 2 is that you have to drill have drills because, as we said a couple of weeks ago, we had one actual process was on fire at an oil refinery, and one person in particular refused to listen to the emergency alarms or to me because he says I don't listen to alarms and I don't listen to safety professionals. That was his excuse. And then,
Well, maybe if they feel that they might lose $517 million in the
right,
event that they don't do what they're supposed to do, that might help them. Maybe
might help them.
might help.
And number three is that it's the people who do not get the training necessary, in my experience, just my experience, are usually the security guards. I had to manage a whole team of security guards for one project, and it was high turnover rate for them. So the company that they were working for did not invest in training. And I ended up having to train them constantly. I had a whole training program for them. And I could see where that could be the weak part, especially if you're dealing with security guards and things of that nature in a affluent community, or at least not a urban center or anything like that. And you're in an affluent, they may not treat security people with respect. I'm just talking out of
I think
safety.
Tim,
So go ahead.
there's also, I think too with security guards, we have to look to what are they doing? They're supposed to provide safety, protect the health and the welfare of individuals that we task them to mind, whether it's protection of a building, don't let anybody on site, or if it's a concierge service in a building that will be taking your packages, bringing them up, responding to resident complaints, etc. But security guards also, it's difficult from an employer standpoint because they may have to do certain things as far as checks and balances. So if I'm hiring a security guard company to work on site, I most likely will want a background check. I will want drug testing. Those are very expensive and often occur in the beginning of the job process. So the hiring, when they finally do get hired, now we have to start training. And I think most employers are feeling a shortage and they're feeling the pain of not being able to obtain qualified individuals or experienced individuals, and they may be stretched, but security is really an aspect that we can't take lightly. And employers need to invest in the training. So in Champlain Towers, they actually paid the
Hold
large.
on, let me preface this. Neither one of us was specifically involved in the investigation or the operation of these things. I'm just saying from experience, maybe I'm a little bit harsh. A lot of security companies, they don't invest in their people. The ones that I've worked with, some which are nationally recognized, and I don't know the specific name of this company, but that are nationally recognized, do a phenomenal job. It's the smaller ones that may be very, very local or very regional. You got to really, they're like safety professionals. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday. Every time there's a downturn in the economy, anybody with a 30-hour outreach training certificate now markets themselves as a safety professional just to get a job and keep money coming in. And we know that there's problems with that. There's because a 30-hour outreach quote unquote certification, it's not a certification, it's training. It's just an awareness level training. So this is like akin to that. So go ahead, Dawn. I'm sorry.
Well, no, and the security company for Champlain Towers is a large national, in fact, international company. The aspect here and why this security company was brought into the lawsuit and also paid the majority of the settlement is because they were sued for negligence, wrongful death, and personal injury related to the collapse. The allegation was that the guard that was on duty that night called 911 and did that 10 minutes before the collapse. However, they did not activate the building-wide in-unit voice alarm that could have given the residents the opportunity to evacuate prior to the collapse. And that is why the security company of all of the defendants will be paying the most. Now, this was a $1 billion plus settlement. It is one of the largest settlements for a condo association in connection with negligence that we've seen. The builder and developer for the association, who originally, the next door, there was I think we all heard about the ground shaking and complaints from the residents. They paid a portion of the settlement as well. There were many individuals who had been on site and may have done work. For example, the engineering firm that provided the report to tell Champlain Towers what items needed to be corrected and what were emergent, that engineering firm, even though they did absolutely no work and only provided a scope of work, cost analysis, was also brought into the litigation, of course, and they paid a portion of the settlement too.
Wow.
The law firm for the association paid a portion of the settlement, and it was over $25 million.
Wow.
So professionals have a higher duty or a higher standard that they must adhere to. So, Jim, when you talk about all of your qualifications, your professional certifications, and your education that you've received, before we got on this call, you said, well, I only have a master's, and I laughed, only have a master's.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of individuals out there that have not completed training or not passed tests, and then continue to operate or do things in their own way. And it really depends on who you are working with that may require certain professionalism or certifications, but are they doing their due diligence to verify that the individual they hire has those credentials?
Right. And
so that goes into it.
Yeah, it all goes into it. What does it come down to? It all has no, I remember at the time that this happened, there were a lot of reports. I don't know if they were verified or anything.
There is a report, Jim, so they have come down with some of the findings of what caused the collapse, and I believe it is online. I will send you a link, and then if any of your listeners would like to look up that information, I'm sure you could share that with me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll put it in the
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
By the way, this is all public information. We are actually speaking to information that is known. The information can also be looked up through the court system, and you can get more details there.
Right. Exactly. Now, with the towers and everything, I know that there was a lot of the building inspectors at the time they were looking at, as to whether or not they did their due diligence. So it's important for everybody to do their job. I mean, I was on a project a couple of weeks ago where we had to demolish a set of stairs, and the facility was designed, for example, that all of the step offs, all of the elevated areas were exactly 17 inches. All right. The OSHA standard is when there's a break of an elevation of 19 inches, you have to provide some kind of a stair right under the construction standard. So I said, I see what happened here. This standard's been around since the early 1970s. The designers of this facility, that seems like a very specific number. 17 inches, they most likely designed this facility so they were not during any construction or renovation activities. There wouldn't be any need for temporary stairs. And being the safety professional, I said, you're going to get hurt almost as bad from 19 inches to 17 inches. All right. I'm taking a 17-inch fall onto concrete already. It's not fun. All right. It's not fun. You will get hurt. You will go to the hospital.
Well, I will tell you that I recently had a community association in South Carolina that paid close to $1 million through their insurance carrier
Right.
for that exact same issue. Their building was built in the 1960s. It was code at that time.
Right.
However, a little old lady going up the stairs, the risers were not the code height today's
Right.
standard. She fell and had a traumatic brain injury. We were having a problem in the United States with something called social inflation. So
Right.
this did go to court and the jury found in her favor, but the settlement was much more than it typically would have been. And when I say social inflation, it's because we've all become attuned to social media and aspects that get filtered in from different news sources, whether they're correct or not. But most of the information we receive out there is sort of shock value, right? So now juries are even more, what? They did what? And it's all about the man, right? The deep pockets. Where can we get the money? So when we do get to court, they want to penalize somebody. Hey, you know what? I had this happen to me. And you know what? That's not fair. And it's not always the law that they're looking at. Now they're taking their personal feelings, especially jurors, and the settlements are 3 to 5 times greater than they were even 5 years ago.
Oh, we're getting into that. I'll we'll get to touch back on that in a minute. We had so anyway, what did I end up doing? And again, I have my insurance agent here. Complete disclosure. I actually put it in writing saying that they had to do something. A guardrail, stairs.
Well, I just
because,
had a situation, Jim, that somebody said to me, well, we talked about it. Well, where's the documentation?
Yeah.
Because when we look, incidents, they happen, right? And then you're going to provide your incident report. You're going to have documentation. We hope you have photographs, perhaps a written report from a witness with their contact information. Most of the times when the incident happens, before it gets to court, could be 2 years. It could be 5 years, depending upon the case. During COVID, we had cases that were backed up more than 2 years. So now we've got to court and people's memories have failed them.
Right.
People have forgotten the details of what has occurred. So now we go back to the written report, and that's what we're going to rely on. Well, if it's not in the report, it didn't happen.
Right. Oh, that's what I tell people. So under the 1926, and I believe it's 32, a competent person has got to do regular inspections of a construction site. They don't mention what those are. And unless you have it in writing, those inspections never happened, is what I tell people.
So can you say that again? A reasonably
A competent person has to do regular inspections of a job site under OSHA construction regulations.
So Jim, what's a competent person?
Competent person. Very good question. A competent person under OSHA, and this, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but this is what the idea is. A competent person is either through education or experience, preferably both, right? It could be both, has the ability to assess hazards, right? So, and also has the ability to correct hazards. So a lot of people have the ability to assess a hazard. So I could go and assess, and my listeners will know this story, right? Last year we had a person. So on all of my jobs, the competent person has to sign off on paperwork that says they're the competent person. And the companies have to supply a name on like company letterhead or from a company email address stating that this is the competent person. And they have the authority to correct hazards. Last year we were on a job and a person was designated a competent person on all 27 OSHA areas, which I can't do. All right. And this person had just been in the business about a year, was 22 years old, and had previous experience in the medical field. And as you know, people in the medical field often go into safety. A lot of people, there's plenty of things to do in safety, all different backgrounds you can
Yes,
have.
I agree. I
All
know that personally.
yeah. So so for example, one of my good colleagues, work colleagues, is has an English background. I have know two of them. They have an English background. Well, guess what they get to do? Well, they get to write reports that are phenomenal in there. All right, because that's a need. But anyway, I said to this person, I said, you signed off on all this stuff that you're the competent person. And they said, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I said, and their boss had just come over. I said, okay, so you're a competent person in fall protection. Yes. Well, what training do you have? OSHA 30-hour outreach. I said, you do know that that's not and this was from a different. I wasn't directly responsible for them per se, but I was on the general contractor, and there was no contractual arrangement. But I was like in charge of them, more or less, making sure they're doing the right thing. And I said to him, "Okay, you have it down for aerial and boom lifts, competent person. Yeah. Okay. Do you know how to operate one? No." And then it went on and on and on and on and on. I won't bore you. And then I said to her, her boss came over and said, "Is there a problem?" I said, "Yeah, we're wondering why she signed off on all this paperwork, that she's the competent person and she has no training or anything else." I said, "Well, if there's a problem, would she be able to shut down the job?" He said, "If she shuts down the job, she had better be right," which would indicate to me that she does not have the authority to do that. If you're giving a direction like that, you better be right. And so she didn't meet the first test, where she wasn't able to assess hazards. And there were huge issues that she was having that she wasn't assessing, that I had, and I actually had to stop work on the job. And I have no contractual arrangement with them. So for me to stop work, it had to be something over the top,
Egregious.
totally
Over the
over the top, dealing with fall protection.
Well,
And
I would imagine it was life safety that was concerning.
yes,
And we tell individuals all the time, especially from an insurance standpoint, you would be shocked how many people will sit in their house while it's burning and call you up and say, "What's my deductible?"
yes,
And you'll say, "Hey, is your house on fire right now?" And they'll say, "Yeah, in fact, I'm in the basement right now, and the fire department's on the way, but I don't want my insurance rates to go up." So just, is this going to
yeah,
be a problem?
right.
And,
So
it
yes,
really comes down to is let's have the foresight to really think this through. And we never want to risk the loss of life versus property.
right.
And we should always also be thinking it from a safety professional. If we cannot control the scene or we cannot keep ourselves safe, how will we also help
Right.
others?
And ended up, so she failed the first test. She didn't know couldn't assess. But even with the stuff she was able to assess, her boss just told her basically she doesn't have the authority, in my opinion, at least.
Well, Jim, don't you find as a safety professional that you get that a lot from people who hire you? They want to dictate what safety you're going to analysis
One of
you're going to do, or guide you per se,
back in the
strongly guide you.
back in the day when I was a no, very young safety professional working for a company called Envirogenics that doesn't exist anymore. The owner, I ran into a similar situation as this person, as an excavation competent person, and they said and I shut down the job, right, and shut down an activity, not the job, the activity, because they were not following the regulation, and it was very explicit that they weren't following the regulation. They said, "Well, we're not." Just go back and eat donuts and drink coffee that's where I got the expression, in the trailer, blah, blah, blah. I got my boss on a phone, remember pre-cell phones. And he said, "Okay, well, then don't worry about it. You're obviously not the competent person."
I
So,
guess you sent him did you beep him on his beeper?
yes,
You sent him a page,
yes,
911?
yeah. But yeah, exactly. But, this is the whole thing, is that, and this is what a competent person is someone who's able to assess and correct it. And the company has got to go and explicitly in paper, in writing, designate that person. By default, it's going to be the foreman. And if the foreman, there's something fouled up, OSHA has also determined that the owner or whatever, or the company is then the competent person, right? Because if that's the only person ultimately with authority to correct the thing, and that's investigations, that's something that if you're hiring someone, that's a road you don't want to go down, because now you're talking about attorneys and you're going to have a very long drawn out process here. So I always force everybody who's the competent person here.
In insurance, in my aspect, in my area, we actually look for a reasonably prudent person. What would a reasonably prudent person do in this situation? A reasonable and practical person. In fact, our general liability insurance excludes injuries that would be known or that are intended, meaning that you're aware of a situation. If you've not made the corrective action or taken that corrective action, and an injury occurs, the insurance carrier can decline to provide coverage because it was that known or intended injury. You knew about it or you intended for it to occur.
Right. Exactly. So, that's enough. No, with that, it's very, very difficult to manage these people. And it's, I've gotten to the point now.
Well, training,
and before, I'm sorry, the minute that you get letters after your name, there's no excuse on anything. Before that, you maybe have a little bit of wiggle room, but you may not, because of, there are other things other than professional credentials. Once you get whatever it is, look, I'm the CSP. I'm working on a job now, and people are laughing, where I'm basically a confined space entry attendant. Something that you would normally give like a first or second year.
I was going to say, so my husband is trained in confined space rescue, and he worked for a large national equipment sales and rental company. So part of their sales benefit to a client is to provide them with the safety training and whether it's confined space or hazardous materials. And he will say it's pretty shocking, especially when there are I'm sorry, Jim, I have a parrot that is
that's okay
in the background, and I don't know if you can hear him right now.
It's cutting in every once in a while. The parrot, what, I love you, please come.
Oh, he's screeching, and yes, he is a green Amazon parrot, a blue fronted, and he is very vocal, so I apologize about that.
Go ahead. No, I'm not hearing it, but go ahead. But you were saying, but he's probably, you shared the story. He's shocked with what he sees out there.
Yeah. And, he worked in a trench safety division, and trench safety, as you know, I find that a lot of contractors really cut corners with respect to shoring. Now, as an insurance agent, I specialized in the New York area for construction liability, contractual liability. So how are we going to transfer that risk from the general contractor to his subcontractor, from the owner to the GC? We want to make sure that there's a line of coverages from the bottom guy all the way to the top guy, so that there's no gaps. And it's very shocking to see when we're looking at insuring a contractor to find that they have had OSHA violations. And I think they're even more shocked that we as insurance agents have looked that up and that we're aware of it. But if you have an OSHA violation, we will not be insuring you. Most insurance carriers will decline to provide coverage, because that, from an insurance standpoint, is probably one of the most egregious places you could be. It's shown now that it's probably, when it occurred, OSHA, of course, levies fines and that, but the situation probably was worse than what it looks like on paper with OSHA.
Well, when they know OSHA is coming, things tend to get cleaned up, is the other thing, especially after a situation.
Yes.
So you figure, in this area, if you have an IDLH situation, which is a higher priority than fatality investigation, immediately dangerous life and health, they're usually there within 3 hours, in my experience, which is pretty good. All right.
That's excellent.
That's really good. They're there within 3 hours. Number one. Number two, because they got to stop everything that they're doing and everything else, right? So I think that's actually really good. Now, a fatality investigation, they're usually there. If it happens in the morning, they're usually there by the afternoon if it gets reported to them. All right. Well, more commonly, with a catastrophic or a fatality, they're there. Fatality, they're usually there that day or first thing in the morning the next day. With a really catastrophic situation, maybe 2 or 3 days. So a lot can happen in those 2 or 3 days of cleaning up. There's one company, I won't mention the name of it, that I've worked with in northern New Jersey that refused admission to an OSHA citation officer, and they fought it in court for 3 years. And in 3 years, they cleaned up all their stuff. So by the time that they got the person in there and everything that they would have been cited with was cleaned up. And
well, I'll tell you, Jim, from
it's
an insurance
bad.
standpoint, we would probably look to somebody who has a criminal record and has murdered somebody and provide them with insurance before we'll provide insurance with somebody with an OSHA violation.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true.
Well, I also think too, there's, we're not, insurance professionals are typically highly educated. There's a big legal component. We have to read a lot of documents. We're not attorneys. Some of us are in the insurance business. In fact, quite a few are. Who writes these insurance policies? Attorneys. Who gets to decide on how the coverage applies? The judge, the attorneys. It's case law, precedent, etc.
Right.
But our topic today, I think, is really important because we're going to be talking about electric vehicles and
Yes,
fire.
that's our main topic.
That was part one of our interview with Dawn Becker. Come back tomorrow for our next episode where we discuss electric cars and insurance requirements and other great things. You can contact us at jim@safetywars.com or 845-269-5772 for more information and to schedule any of your training classes. We also address any of your health and safety needs. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.